So good morning. Well, on behalf of the organizer, first I'd like to express gratitude to our prominent guest speakers and trainers who have been kind to share their extensive experience and provide much needed guidelines for the challenges ahead of us in Horizon 2020. Also, I'd like to welcome all of you to the Excellence in Horizon 2020 project development and proposal writing. The 2 days of training ahead of us are going to be very challenging. Now, our objective is to expand and refine your skill set to train you in the most advanced strategical and analytical approaches, methodologies, and tools that may ensure, provided that they are properly implemented, the highest quality of your proposals, and hopefully, of course, the significant impact and sustainability of the project. Now, although 2 days may appear as a long time, looking at the complexity, the scope of Horizon 2020, and I'm sure that many of you are familiar with it, it will be barely sufficient to cover all the relevant issues, so we'll be focusing on your specific needs and interests and try to tailor all the sessions to directly respond to your needs in order for you either to understand or reach the concept of excellence in proposal writing, project design, and proposal writing for Horizon. So, within my experience, each one of the trainings and new project initiatives is quite a unique experience. Put aside from the complexity and the numerous variables that may affect the outcomes, the cornerstone of people. And therefore, I'd like to start with the introduction. Oh, welcome, and please make yourself comfortable.
Good morning.
In order to assist you in this process, we have created base video materials that you can come back to later on in different stages of your proposal development and refresh your memory. It's available at the link. This is also the reason why we are recording today's sessions, so you will have them available at some point. And we've prepared as well a compilation of materials that is used with, well, numerous guides, instructions, PowerPoint presentations, exercises, and so on. In total, some 200 megabytes of materials that are more appropriate, I would guess, for a master's program than 2 days training. However, we're not really expecting you to read each and every part of this until tomorrow or the end of the day. They will be available for you to come back to the materials at different stages of proposal development. You can refresh your memory, and you can use some of the tools provided here. I will distribute this USB, so you can copy it in your laptops if you have, or otherwise I can as well copy the materials from the computer to your USBs during the break. If you be kind to take it and perhaps Introduction. So, my name is Bosko Nektarijevic. Any variation of Bosko, depending from the background and origin, will be perfectly fine. I know that for many of you, maybe the last name will be rather difficult, Nektarijevic as well. Anyway, my background is, in terms of the academic background, is in management. I graduated as a Bachelor of Business Administration in France a long time ago, 1999. Then I completed my Master of Business Administration Studies here at Brussels University, the Solar Business School, where I stayed for several years and lectured for 5 or 6 years, something like that at the moment, to MBA and PhD students, and completed executive education at Harvard University and quite a few other training seminars programs like NATO EU security program offered within NATO headquarters as well. Then project management, leadership, communication at the Boston University, and so on. But what I believe that might be much more relevant for you is the practical experience. I started working with EU-funded programs in 2001 under the umbrella of the European Parliament. And since then, I've been working with pretty much all the instruments that were available from that time till now, and relevant for the Balkan region. Born and raised, and most of my career I spent leading or contributing or assisting project leaders from the Balkan region. But that does not include my work in different countries within the EU. I started with my experience in the framework programs from Framework Program 6, and then continued throughout Program 7, and now very actively engaged in Horizon 2020. Throughout the years, I've been on many different positions within the operational structure, either providing technical assistance to delegations of the European Commission or different organizations in building capacity or providing direct assistance to providers of the users, from project officer, junior expert, now up to senior expert in this field. And I had the pleasure and the privilege within the Balkan Security Network and European Training Academy to work with some of the brightest minds in the EU and some of the gurus in this field. And I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to invite our key speakers to introduce themselves. Steve, would you be kind to take the floor? And for the other speakers, I will leave it to you to introduce yourself at the beginning of your session, which will follow.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Quarrie, as it says on the slide. I'm different from Bosko, apart from being a lot older. Bosko's background and experience is in aspects of management and administration. Mine is in research. I'm a researcher. And I've been doing research for, as the slide says, quite a long time. So you can do the mathematics, you can work out roughly how old I am. I'm not going to tell you, but you can work it out. I have a celebration coming up later this year. Right. Now, I've been, as it says on the slide, although I'm formally retired, I'm working now more than I used to when I had a proper job. I'm teaching at Belgrade University, teaching PhD students how to do research and getting money for projects as part of that process of being able to do research. I am also visiting professor at Newcastle University, where my colleague at the business school and I have just finished putting together a Horizon 2020 proposal. On the one hand, I hope it gets funded for his sake, but on the other hand, I hope it doesn't get funded for my sake. Because if we do get the money, it means that I've got even more work to do for the next 5 years. So, yeah, I have mixed feelings about that. What else have I been doing? Oh, good, yeah, well, okay, TR. Okay, I've been training people like you on how to write project proposals for about 12 years. Most of the people that I work with, because I'm a research scientist, most of the people I work with are researchers. People who do research at institutes, at universities. But I also provide training courses with Bosko at the Chamber of Commerce and in other institutions around mainly the Western Balkans. I live in Belgrade. I may not sound as if I live in Belgrade, but this is where all of my clothes are stored in a wardrobe in the middle of Belgrade. So, well, no, actually, a lot of them seem to be stored in suitcases because I seem to travel around quite a lot. What else have I done? Yes, my major expertise has been in the framework program project proposals. Over the years, I've written a number of them myself, and at the moment, my success rate of getting them funded is higher than average. It's over 50%. It sounds good, but it's not actually a very large number. Nevertheless, I do feel that I've got experience that will be useful to pass on to you, to give you some information on the sorts of skills that you need to develop to be able, in your research proposals, well, proposals of all sorts, to be able to get the funding. I've been a proposal evaluator. I've evaluated cost proposals over the years, and I've also been an evaluator for EPA proposals. It's a very valuable experience being an evaluator because you get to see proposals from the other side of the fence. And that means it gives you a lot of appreciation of the points that are important to focus on when you're actually writing your proposals. I used to work for a few years for the Ministry of Science in Serbia. My role was to help Serbian scientists succeed with their proposals, mainly for FP7. So there were also occasional cost proposals. Whether I did any good, I really have no evidence. But they paid me the money for 3 years, so and that's and that's it. Yes, right.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks. Well, to add to Steve's last point, during his time spent in the Bureau for International Projects, that was the time where the success rate of Serbian proposers was at its peak. So it tells something about the process. Although he's going to think out the box. Anyway, I'm fairly certain that most of you are well acquainted with the agenda that we're about to follow, so I won't waste too much time. So we have started with some 15 minutes of delay to allow everyone to arrive. However,
good morning, everybody. My name is Tania Friederichcs. I work for DG Research and Innovation, in the DG Research and Innovation, in the Directorate for International Cooperation. And within the International Cooperation, I am following cooperation with the market. And that's, of course, my knowledge. I've had also another class within the Directorate, which was looking at synergies between funding opportunities on the Union Framework Program, which used to be the 7th Framework Program, which is now the 1920, and a whole range of external funding programs. That's why synergies, for example, with IPA, so experience with IPA is good, and these days, partnership with mining and there. You've had a lot of introductions and talks, you have high expectations. Let me, and that is normal, let me say that this presentation is not at all responding to your expectations, so I don't think I will go over it, because in fact it's an assessment of how the Balkan countries have done, but you couldn't care less. You want to know how you will do, not how they have done, because my understanding was that basically we will assess a little bit how the Balkan countries have done and what improve, how they could improve their score, because the Balkan countries are associated, Turkey is associated with the program, which makes a difference in opportunity of participating. But you all from member states, or from Turkey, or from being associated with the program, so we are all in the same goals in terms of rights and obligations, or I would want to call it opportunities. If I now go immediately into your expectations, like either I participated for the first time, either I have done it but I wasn't successful, either fair enough, we thought this and we encouraged it, we have experience with national funding and we want to go to EU funding, it's a big pot, that's absolutely fine and legitimate. What can I say is it is very important to know and realize the full specificities of Horizon 2020. So even if you have experience with 7 framework program, it helps, because I will be the last one to not to recognize the fact that participation in the Union framework program is a network business. So you need, because by definition, you need minimum 3 partners, but if you look at all our projects, there are seldom still projects, but are single partners, but mostly it's a network. And if you have performed well, be successful in one FP7 project, that partner may come to you and say, well, we were good, you were good, and you were successful. You especially have capacity to be able to be on time at meetings, to be together in the networks, to have ideas, depending on the nature of the project. So definitely experience helps, and getting into a project for the first time is very difficult. But there's always a first time. Compared, what is the big specificity different with FP7 and Horizon 2020 is that we are even more competitive. So a bit what Bosko said in different terms, and I will say more upfront, be prepared for failure. Be prepared, like the things before, stand up again, don't give up. Success rate of Horizon 2020, EU 28 member states, average today is 14%. That means in the past we said you have to submit 5 times, maybe 1 time, even less. This is even more today. Because of that, I think really we have quite simplified the procedure. If you look at the type of calls that we have addressing climate challenge, they're really attractive. And I see that you were involved in mining. You see and hear that you have energy, biology, life sciences, environmental sciences. Those are all areas that we address. So it's a very comprehensive program. So your expertise, we call it your expertise, because your expertise is necessary to address the challenges that we have to resolve with further research. But we also said that it's not only a question of research, it's also a question of involving SMEs, and not only in areas where one would say or think, oh, this is definitely growth, economic. No, We want also SMEs in product science. We want SMEs in across, it's a cross-cutting issue. We want SMEs in definitely in energy, but almost everywhere, because that is also how we feel that there will be a better return on the investment in research. So also because to increase our scientific excellence at the European level, we need more equipment in research, and the investment should not only come from the public sector, but also from the private sector. We need innovation. We need that research impact. But you will go over all these things. So just on based on what I heard is you protect data. All your expertise we call upon, but your expertise alone is not enough. You will have to put it in a consortium that, rightly so, can manage the project. Because we don't want projects that fail. So that's a lot of work for the because you cannot imagine if you have one partner in a consortium that was bankrupt in the lifetime of the consortium. It's a lot of work for it because we have another one, we lose our money, we have to justify it to the public authorities. So we really look at sustainability. That's also why sometimes evaluators, another point that was said, being an evaluator, if you are on the list of evaluators, is a very good experience. Then you will say, yes, but I am on the list and I have never been selected. You were selected on what we call so-called objective criteria. Gender is also important. If you have a panel of 5, you need to have gender balance, expertise, people that can really assess impact, that can judge if it has an economic impact, growth, if it's innovative, creative, if it has not already been funded. So let's maybe agree that the only thing that I could do is go jump in this presentation to the last slide where I asked myself some questions on how to improve level of participation for my group of development. But a lot of that is also very effective for all of us. And I heard you, for example, that you were all looking at possibilities of improving writing skills for, of course, an evaluator or a moderator, being able to write properly your ideas in a presentable way and responding to the call is very important. Because think about it on the other side, the evaluators are made very clearly. And the tiniest thing they find to disqualify makes their life easy. And as soon as they have something, because there are many others that are good, they say, oh, this is good, and it's not bad, and it could look, but the gut, great. We have the argument, a killing argument to say that it is not as good as the other one, and whatever. So, what I experience in evaluating the wrong citing of sources, not coherent citing of sources. Very often we call upon state of the art, building upon state of the art. We don't say what state of the art is. You say it, but then but you're not kind of have to justify it, not by saying see all that. We evaluate how much supposed to do more. You have to show it that it is building state of the art. You have to show coherence between your different objectives of the project. Very important also to have very good management, showing that you know very well how to achieve your results in terms of it's almost a classic structure, work package, a timetable, realistically, also showing that you have because of what we call an oversubscription calls and participation, many calls in the coming work program will be two-phase, which is, voilà. On the other hand, I think it's a fair response to the big consortia because the first period of preparations is shorter and quicker, yes or no, and that you can do it. So we believe that it is fairer than waiting so much participation. So again, from what I've heard, point of view, also the beginning point of view, you have to go on networks. You have to make up for yourself, do I have enough experience and capacity to be called coordinator? And that, it's not something I recommend at the beginning, but for example, my Turkish colleagues, who I know from FP6 and FP7 Horizon, they have, for example, had a policy. We don't want to be coordinated with many small projects. At a certain time, you have to be coordinated because it's different experience that you apply, you're in the lead, it's not money, but it's different experience you apply, and it's a good thing to have in your CV. But if it is really the first time, I think it's good to be in a consultant with experience, participants with a good mix of participants. Preparing is a lot of work. You all have to be in contact with international partners. We, Horizon 2020, each country has to have a network of national contact points who, for me, are the best first sort of information because they get all the sources directly from us and they have a duty and obligation to be at the search and they can also help in searching partners. There's a lot now also in searching partners too, partners. You can always wait for the very last minute to submit the bottom network. So maybe as I said, I will go over a little bit on the last. Yes. Yeah. Sure. So as I said, I was making a little bit of an analysis of where we are. So if we go to recommendations, because absolutely, well, the countries I know best in terms of participation, what they do at home, and if that is expecting a success rate on 6,000. And survey, for example, is really very good. A mix of successes, because one is in 1, 2, 3. Mix of successes is not true because SME is very weak, and as such, like for instance, an instrument which is something that you as a company have to consider. If you have an own ID that you want to develop, then it's good to be a solo player at a time for an SME function or organization. It's easier to support. It's not much money, but it helps. It's great expertise that you can apply to such support to be easier. Most of you will be looking for and should be looking for collaboration solutions. Really carry forward the research at the national level. You said that you were interested in cost, and which I think is very good at cost is a very good learning school. It's networking, and it is allowed the program of cost. We ask this also to be a good preparation for further research. The good thing about cost is that it is really learning everybody can be in the top, but we say that you should be top, but it can help. Experience in management is very good, very good. But, so, Serbia, for example, is successful and got even for the first time and a second project under evaluation for the ERC, European Research Council, which means really if you have an ERC grant, it shows that you have scientific excellence. ERC grant is what we said in the past is basic research, but really it's not the way any longer that program is designed, but if you would have to put a label on basic research, it's going to be a one year. And the fact that that Serbia has been successful there shows and demonstrates and confirms my assessment that they still have extreme risks. That really scientists by in their blood research. Science to improve the look of things because their infrastructure is not that great. It's also under but it's smaller. They've done also a lot on transport technology and systems for that, and bringing universities and industry together. So it's not surprising that they are the best model. All the rest. Albania, Bosnia, and Montenegro are seriously underperforming. They also need half of do and that. So these are not. So very often it's a question of margin proposals. So definitely some training on margin proposals is more harm. And this cannot be done by the Commission. This should be a private do that. Linked to margin proposals is training on the margin 2020, more training is broader than the margin proposals. It's very good to do a margin simulation. And then the training is more like programs and the program. You could also question yourself, am I sufficiently visible on the European scientific or research or innovation map? So this is important for such partners. And how am I visible? It's good to give you a label and to specialize. Really, the globalizer is so big. Choose 2 or 3 actions where you say, I go for that. Energy efficiency, renewable energy, water, the program is so big. That's what of course, the Serbia success rate demonstrates really that so not on management as well, impact, but scientific excellence is very, very important. You have a lot of SME participation in industry, you that will be the channel of participation, just as I use innovation. It is of a combination of all. It is also always a part of luck to be in the right resource at the right time. I also, but this is a recommendation that I make not to government, but you have contact with your government universities. You can start with specializations, go in missions, where you say there are some expertise. I can demonstrate that deepening my knowledge there is good. Don't forget also, especially for you all that have started, that have said, you might feel passionate, you want to go with it. It's fine. I have worked for a family where Colombia came up with because they said that's the real here, and they have also shows that you can be challenged and therefore you have to be integral and you are comfortable. So applying the principles of open innovation, open source, of gender in your project, whether in gender at lower level or higher level, applying the principles of transfer of technology, being aware of all that will help to say that in doing that research you will also contribute to the European research area. Because I wanted to say to those that say I will participate for the first time, or I haven't yet, and we definitely want to go European, it's very important that in the mindset is this research is not good for me. This is the value added of the research is for Europe. It's not national funding. It's European. So you have to justify that you receive European funding because you're doing something added value at European level. Now, if you say, for example, and this would be good for my university because it would be more sustainable and we would build upon the research that we have done at national level. So, okay, no, European. It's another step. It's added value at European level. So those are a number of on-the-spot reactions, mindsets for your training. Go through your training, and I will come back. I can come back anytime. Maybe what I could do is come back and see if there is any presentation already available, announcing the work programs or anything that I thought that you would be
Thank you very much. It is a true, on one side, pleasure and on the other side, privilege to have the opportunity to learn from you. And thank you for this valuable introductory points and guidelines, as well as for the offer to assist with perhaps some drafted challenges or perhaps afterwards to respond to some of the questions at the beginning. I would appreciate it, I'm sure. Concerning the success rates for each one of respective countries that you come from, and as well regions of countries that might be of interest for you, we do have prepared file. This is publicly available information, although it is restructured in a way to present so far all accepted EU, accepted by the Commission, accepted the Horizon proposals. So they are structured by the program, by the country, organization, amount of money which is received by each one of the participants, and so on and so on. So if this is of interest to some of you, I might then just suggesting I might copy this information to you. However, I will take more time from our following respective speaker, and I will just prepare the next presentation immediately with great pleasure to pass on the floor to Andrea. Just to find out how this works. Right. Good. Okay. Please do take control. Okay. If you'd like me to change the slide, or
yeah.
you,
Please.
But thank you so much.
First of all, good morning to everybody. My name is Andrea Mogni. I'm a senior economist. I've been for 25 years senior economist and financial expert in the European Commission. I worked in development matters, I worked in international economic and financial matters, and more recently in the external relations, the economic department of the European Commission, including also the European External Relations Service. And in that capacity, I was the counterpart of a number of the line DGs of the European Commission developing international programs, or developing an international dimension in their own European programs. And in this context, I was the counterpart of the DG Research also of the European Joint Research Center, and also of the DG Connect, which, as you know, is in charge of Digital Europe and media and the internet and other matters in this field. So I was, to some extent, the one who conceived the idea and made a proposal to develop a European science diplomacy, particularly taking into account the importance of science in our external relations, and how and to what extent the science may support European external relations with emerging economies, the BRICS, but also the developing countries, also the industrialized countries, the US, Canada, Australia, etc., and also with international organizations, because we should not forget that we have bilateral relations with the field of science and technology, but also we have international relations with multilateral bodies and with the UN organizations, which are quite keen to support the science and technology at multilateral level. I was also, more recently, I was also in charge of the programming of European external instruments, which makes the heading 4 of European budget, which is entitled Europe in the World. And one of my objectives was to create synergies, as our colleague has just said, synergies between Horizon 2020 on one side and the external cooperation instruments that we have, and in particular with your vision is IPA, but not only IPA, because we have also global instruments covering also the aims at tackling global challenges. So we have also the development cooperation instrument, which has a global reach, and we have also other instruments in the Mediterranean, because of course the countries in the Balkans belong also to the Mediterranean. Some of them are on the Atlantic coast, and therefore the idea was also to create synergies with the European Neighbourhood Instrument, which applies to Eastern Europe and also to the Mediterranean. I would like just to make a comment referring to what my colleague has said. And here I wanted to say one thing about how to prepare the project proposal. Keep always in mind the need to prepare a very good case, a very good presentation. This very good case focuses very much on at least 3 paragraphs in the beginning of your paper. The 3 paragraphs are the context. The second paragraph is coherence, complementarity, and coordination. And the third paragraph is impact assessment example. Now, the context. The context is not only the context of the country, it's not only the context of the sector, it's not only the context of the initiative that we have in mind. The context also refers to the need, as I said, to put your proposal in the context of European policy. So don't forget that we have entered the phase of a very fast policy reformulation. We have the European Energy Union, we have the European Banking Union, we have the European Innovation Union, we have the European Digital Europe, we have a new strategy in the field of Internet, or 4D, we have a new strategies in the field of environment, and now we are getting towards the World Climate Change Conference in Paris, so we are supposed also to have an important agenda in the field of climate, and also in the field of post-2015 MDGs, Millennium Development Goals. This is very relevant in our dealings with the emerging economies and the developing countries. In addition, we have a strategic partnerships with at least 15 main countries in the world, including China, India, but also Vietnam, Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, etc., etc. And in addition, we have a new strategy of dealing with the multilateral institutions, including the UN, the World Bank, the regional development banks, the EIB, EPFD, etc. We have a new platform of blending between grants and loans, because the idea is to create synergies between grants and loans. and to graduate some middle-income countries from the use of grants and push them to utilize loans, because now they have a level of growth and they have a level of market access. And also take into consideration that we are negotiating 24 major trade agreements or investment agreements with the rest of the world. And in each of these agreements, or free trade agreements or investment agreements, there is always an element referring to science and technology cooperation, which may focus on innovation, which may focus on competitiveness, which may focus also on some sectors. Because you may be surprised to hear that we are developing also sectoral diplomacy. And this is starting from 2009-2010, in close connection with DG Enterprise, and in close connection also with DG Research, and also DG Sante. So we have sectorial diplomacy, particularly in the field of raw materials. You were mentioning mining. Mining is part of the raw materials. We have a water diplomacy, how to deal with the water with the rest of the world, lakes, rivers, irrigation, use of water in towns, etc., etc. We have an energy diplomacy. We have a climate diplomacy, environmental diplomacy, etc. So, I mean, this is very important to put your proposal in the context. The context is essential. It's a very good impression that we have understood the European philosophy and how and to what extent your proposal may support European internal and external strategic objectives. First point. Second point is coherence, complementarity, and coordination. All that needs to be coherent. Don't forget the Lisbon Treaty. Lisbon Treaty mentioned the need for coherence. Mention Lisbon Treaty in your preamble. Mention all the elements which may give the impression that you are taking into consideration coherence and coordination and complementarity very seriously. Coordination is with member states. Coordination is with the counterparts outside Europe. Coordination is what the others are doing in the same areas on a bilateral basis. Coherence is, of course, the objective, the actions in function of the objectives in function of the actions. So this block of this paragraph will be also is also expected to be very, very important. Then the impact. The impact is, of course, ex ante. There is also an ex post impact, but this is after that the action has taken place. The ex ante impact assessment should focus on economic impact, social impact, impact on governance, governance of the beneficiary, governance of the project, governance of the actors, governance of the control, governance of monitoring. So how you organize the project, the governance, the administration, how the project may modify the administration and modify our relations with the rest of the partner country, with the partner organization, etc. So this governance element is very important. You may have a social impact. Don't forget the social impact. Environmental impact is essential. Impact on environment. Maybe 0, maybe 1, maybe 5, I don't know. Up to you to see. But certainly a project in the field of energy or in the field of water or in the field of biodiversity has an environmental impact. Don't forget the disaster. Then the gender is key element. Protection of your minorities. You may have a project affecting minorities. You may have a project affecting indigenous people. You may have you may have a specific situation. Don't forget to mention that. And then a risk assessment. The project has a risk. You may have an industrial risk, a commercial risk, a financial risk, but also a project-related risk, even the political risk. You may entertain relations with your partner. At a certain point, this partner collapses, disappears. There is a nationalization, there is a privatization, there is a disaster, an earthquake. I don't know what happens. So make sure that you have a guarantee. You identify well the risk and you protect your project by using guarantees, by using your contact with the banks, by strengthening some legal clauses in your project, in your agreement, if you win the tender. But make sure that you make provisions least you reflect on the possible risks referring to project implementation or project outcomes. Particularly, it is research. Now, we have very much insisted with the DG Research, and they agreed on that the research project should be country-tailored, differentiated, so one size fits all mechanism does not work, and also project should be practical, concrete. We should have concrete results. We don't want to finance PhDs. We don't want to finance a theoretical or philosophy. We want to finance something which may contribute to the European external policy, to the European visibility, to the European influence in the world, to the European vision, to the European face, to support the European values. So I think these elements are very important. And therefore, try to organize something which may lead to concrete results. The outcome of your research should be a big seminar, etc., but also practical recommendations in order to help the different services of the Commission to come up with some concrete proposal. Your proposals need to be inserted in our country strategies with the country. Your proposals need to be inserted, could be inserted in our trade agreements, could be inserted in our dialogues that we have with the rest of the world. And with countries like China, India, etc., believe me, we have 54 different dialogues. So we can discuss everything with them. So any results coming from the research may be useful for us to carry out dialogues and also to feed the dialogues with new proposals and new initiatives. Then Horizon 2020. How Horizon 2020 can mean? It can mean that without having had a previous evaluation of FP7 or FP6, etc. But there was no evaluation. Projects were evaluated. Some programs were evaluated, but not the overall envelope. Anyway, what was clear is that the framework program, the 7th framework program, was very important. So the idea was to launch Horizon 2020, which is the biggest research program in the world. And also in the European budget. You don't have anything equivalent to the Horizon 2020. We can go with the slides. And now, a second. Now, as I said, put your project in the context. Don't forget the European 2020 strategy, which is the overarching envelope. I mentioned the Innovation Union, and I mentioned also, my colleague also mentioned the framework. So try to put your project in the context. Don't forget that Europe 2020 strategy includes as the three focuses: smart, sustainable, and inclusive growth for Europe, but also for the rest of the world. There is a quantitative objective to invest 3% of GDP in research. We are far away from this objective, but this is okay. It's a large, and there is a lot of focus on innovation. Now, in this cascade, we have not mentioned a key element which is very recent, which is the Juncker Plan. Now, the Juncker Plan, with the European financial strategic investment facility, the Juncker Plan aims at supporting European competitiveness, European innovation, and the European innovation and competitiveness. It focuses very much on Europe, but it has also an international component, an international dimension, because the Article 6 of the FC regulation mentions the possibility to have cross-border cooperation with the countries in Eastern Europe, the neighboring countries in Eastern Europe, the accession countries in the Balkans, and also the neighboring countries in the South. So there is also this element, which is very important for you to mention in the preamble, also the Juncker Plan. Juncker Plan is also very important for another reason. Where the money for the Juncker Plan is coming from, we have for the time being 21 billion. Of this 21 billion, 5 billion come from 16 billion come from European guarantees. I mean, there are money in European budget allocated for the Juncker plan, allocated to the Juncker plan. Now, part of this 16 billion as a guarantees in order to facilitate the implementation of the Juncker plan have been deducted from the Horizon 2020, at least 5 or 6 billion. Now, there has been a fierce debate in the European Parliament over the last few weeks to try to convince the Commission not to deduct the 5 or 6 billion from Horizon 2020, simply because the European Parliament wants to have the Horizon program, Horizon envelope as it is, but I think that at the end of the day, something needs to be released from Horizon. So you will have a reduction in the allocations to Horizon 2020. On the other hand, you will have a movement, a shift of this money from Horizon 2020 to the Juncker plan, but also the nature of the money will change. Because money under Horizon 2020 is useful for to finance research projects, whereas the money under the Juncker plan will be used to ensure the guarantees, European guarantees, to private investment or EIB investment. So the nature of the money will change. But anyway, I suspect that there will be a reduction now in the Horizon 2020 envelope. Now, as I said, at the very origin, this was our proposal. It was 80 billion. Then what was approved at the end was 72, 73 billion. And now I suspect that there will be a further reduction between 5 and 6 billion. Despite that, Horizon 2020 is still a major financial envelope of the Union. And I strongly advise you to invest on that because it is a major envelope. But don't forget also the linkages with other programs, focusing very much on innovation. You have the COSME for SMEs, you have the programs managed by DG Enterprise, by DG Environment, programs managed by DG Clima, and also the external instruments that my colleague has just mentioned. For your region is IPA, the Western Balkans Investment Facilities, another case. With Turkey, we have the special protocol because Turkey is a part of economical speaking, is already part of the Union. We have Union Douanière with Turkey. And also we have for the Mediterranean, the envelopes for the European points. So don't forget these linkages, which is part also of your analysis of coordination and complementarity. Now, three main priorities for Horizon 2020, just to recall them. Excellence for science, industrial leadership, and societal challenges. My work with the DG Research was here. Societal challenges, which focus not only on Europe, but also on international, there is also international dimension. And the international dimension of the social challenges has been introduced in a special communication, which was made by DG Research, which accompanied the Horizon 2020. Now, what are the societal challenges? And here, we don't have only science. I mean, science, broadly speaking, not only, let's say, biotechnology, nanoscience, or digital, but we have also other types of science. And this is why I invite you to consider also presenting proposals in this area. Health, global health, demography, changes of demography, Mediterranean, migration, well-being, indicators of well-being, food security, sustainable agriculture, maritime research, etc., etc. Food security is very important in our relations with the developing countries. Secure, clean, and efficient energy union. In Europe and the international dimension of the energy union. This is also, number 3 is also a key element of the next negotiations in Paris about climate change. Smart, green, and integrated transport. This is the concept of smart cities, the concept of reducing pollution. Again, for Europe, but also for the big metropolitan environments around the world, Bombay, Shanghai, Beijing, Mexico City. as cities have major problems, and therefore you see the European and climate action, I've already mentioned that, inclusive, innovative, and secure societies is everything which refers to fighting terrorism, research on fighting terrorism, research on terrorist movements, research on how to ensure European security, research on how to dialogue with other countries in order to enhance global security. So all these matters are and innovative instruments, innovative ways and means to control cities, persons, environment, etc., etc. Don't forget that Horizon 2020 is in mutual interest. This is not a solidarity program. This is not a development program. It's a program in mutual interest, interest of Europe and interest of the beneficiaries or another institution. This is the communication which accompanies communication on international cooperation, which accompanied the Horizon 2020. So we needed to see the two things together. And what is a strategic approach? Now, the strategic approach is necessary, and also a long-term approach is necessary because the world is changing. And here you have some facts and figures that we will not comment too much, but of course the world has become now a multipolar world. There is now science and technology and innovation, science and technology and innovation internationally, and interconnectivity now is very important, particularly for your region. We should not forget the former Yugoslavia, but we should not forget that all the countries in the Balkans need to be interconnected before being connected with Europe. But there is also a kind of south-south interconnectivity. And then there are societal challenges. These societal challenges have a global nature. We have here the different distributions of funds, the distributions of indicators which show the growing importance of the emerging economies, and which are becoming now our measure of partners in science and technology. Now, what are the drivers of the international cooperation? Why are we talking about international cooperation? There is a need to access knowledge. And also there is a need, here you see the practical implications. There is a need to gain access to new markets. Science and technology and research may allow Europe to have a better market access towards the economy. There is a need to promote Europe as an attractive location and partner. It's important that Europe is also becomes a center of excellence in a number of fields. We are already there, but maybe that a bigger effort needs to be done. Taking into consideration that the research system in Western Europe is different from the research system in Europe. Then there is a need to join forces. This is the notion of synergy. Not only the notion of synergy, but also the notion of leverage. Public research needs to have a leverage on the private research. Public funds need to create a leverage on private funds. We have a public and private partnerships also in research, particularly in the applied research. And so these are also elements which are important in your presentation. Don't forget, when I was talking about impact assessment, don't forget also leverage effects and also efficiency and effectiveness. Now, our interaction with the third countries is here. We have 14 associated countries. 14 countries are associated to Horizon 2020. We have legal entities which participate on the same basis of those member states. Then you have also countries represented as observers on the committee. We manage, and this is an external relation, diplomatic element which is very important. We manage 20 science and technology agreements with 20 countries. So So we don't have only trade agreements or political agreements or investment agreements or whatever, or cultural agreements or environmental agreements, but we have also science and technology agreements. These agreements, of course, are established between the European Union on one side and also with our partner countries on the other side. And they are combined with bilateral agreements, because each member state has its own bilateral science and technology agreement. So we need also internally, within the Commission, and we need also to have also member states, in the Council, we need to create also synergy between European science and technology agreements and the European member states bilateral agreements. Then, of course, we have the agreements are supported by comitology, they are supported by meetings, and there are also discussions and forms of cooperation and identification of priorities. So these meetings or the summit lead to the identification of themes which need to be dealt by, and also of course we discuss management and we discuss IPR. IPR, intellectual property rights. This is very important with China and India, particularly with China. So we needed to avoid the contrafaçon, we needed to avoid the market disruption. And we needed to we would like to have an equal treatment. And the symmetric treatment with China. Then, of course, we have other research and innovation agreements, regional agreement with ASEAN, is Southeast Asia, LAC is Latin America and Caribbean, Eastern Partnership. We have here some fact and figures. I do not spend too much time. Who has benefited? The last participation is 7. Framework program, you have Russia, who is the top, you have US, is number 2, then you have also China, is not bad, South Africa, etc. Here you have the amount of money. You have you see the growing participation of the emerging economies. And not only industrialized countries, but also economies. What is very interesting is South Africa. South Africa embassy played a very important role in Brussels, particularly in the field of science and technology. I was in touch with the scientific advisor of the South African embassy here, who was really a driving engine to put people around the table to discuss how non-European member states may participate in science and technology programs under the 7th framework program. This was a very good impression we did, and I think quite often in South Africa. And also all the others around the table organized by here we have different partners, if you like. European financial contributions by geographical area. You see that ACP countries were quite active there, Asia, then Russia, high-income countries. High-income countries means our cooperation with the US, Canada, Australia, Singapore, high-income countries, Canada also. Then Latin America, okay. And then we have the Mediterranean. But the amounts are not much. But anyway, this gives you the impression, the idea how and to what extent the problem is open. The problem is open. We are not closing in. The problem is open. There is access to the problem. Is a market of ideas. Calls for proposals. Call for proposals are titles. You have a title. Okay, you needed to put something in this title. Do a concept note, 5, 10, 15 pages. So up to you to generate the idea. The best idea is the winning idea. That takes the budget. But don't be afraid about the budget. Present the idea. And this idea should be innovative. We don't want to repeat the same story that we have listed in the last 10, 15, 20 years. We need to be innovative, we need to be competitive. This is a newspaper. We don't want to examine things coming from the newspaper. We wanted to examine things coming from young generation, innovative guys, people daring new ideas, daring to launch something. You come from universities, so you students should be obliged to produce something new, something innovative. As I said, I don't want the repetition. King said, the other one said, the Prime Minister 2 centuries ago said. I'm not interested. This is not economic. Now, you have here international cooperation, the East Talk, okay, we can go. There is, sorry, 1 second only. Voila, room for improvement in, this is a kind of a very rough evaluation of the 7th training program. Actions to often developed ad hoc, so we have more integrated practices, etc. There has been a multiplication of activities missing critical mass. It was kind of fragmented. Lack of coherence and synergy. This is why I'm insisting very much on coherence and synergy. And this is basically the main constraints of the now, strategic approach. I would like to have, I advise you to have a strategic approach. Don't present something which is cloisonné or is limited in time and space. Do something which has a strategic relevance, valid for the next 10, 15, 20 years. If you are not able to do that, put it in a strategic context in your preamble, in the first part of the paper. What is the strategic dimension of the action that you are presenting? It's very, very good information. Okay, more strategic. Okay, more strategic international cooperation. There are three main objectives: excellence, but we have already seen that; societal challenges, we have already spoken; and support to the Union's external policies. This is the practical utility, the practical use of your research. As I said at the very beginning, I don't want to have a PhD. We are not here to finance PhD. We have programs financing PhD. Erasmus, Marie Curie, all that we want. So we have already something financing PhD. But this is not financing PhD. This is something improving lives, conditions, etc. for you and for our children. So 20 years of then openness. I say that the program should be open and is open. Horizon 2020 is open. Targeted needs to be better. The actions need to be better targeted. And of course, there is a partnership with member states. Horizon 2020 and Belgium. Horizon 2020 and UK. Horizon 2020 and Turkey. Horizon 2020 and Italy. So, I mean, we needed to have these combinations. And we needed to make sure always, this is always another element in your project proposal, try to identify synergies between what your country does on bilateral basis and what you plan to do through Horizon 2020. So you needed to create a complementarity between the two. Openness, I've already spoken, target also, I've already spoken. Take into consideration that we negotiated multi-annual roadmaps for cooperation with our partner countries. So we have a long-term strategic dialogue on science and technology with China, India, etc. So your initiatives should be put in the context of this strategic dialogue that we have, multi-annual strategic dialogue that we have with our key partners. Then this is a task for you to identify areas. So try to identify areas and sectors. For instance, research and innovation in the field of research and innovation capacity, access to market, contribution to international commitments, SDGs, I mentioned that, and try to create a research which facilitates cooperation. A research on conflict solution, a research on stabilization, a research on economic integration, a research on role of civil society in a given country, Belarus, Burma, Cuba, a research on transition. You come from Poland, okay? The Polish transition could be, a research on the Polish transition could be interesting for in our negotiations with Cuba or Vietnam in order to facilitate the transition there. Germany, a research on German reunification may help us to negotiate better with the Koreans and to also, why not, tomorrow after, to suggest something for the reunification of the Korean Peninsula. Few examples. Transition. You have problems in a country in transition or in a developing country. Okay, the research on a similar situation in another country may also be useful as a transfer of knowledge and transfer of, may also be useful in other. So the thematic targeting, we have spoken about that. Multi-annual roadmap. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay.
For example, presenting that department.
Yeah.
Interested on very well but from what I hear from the group here, they're all member states. There should more look. They would not be so. Of course, they get paid in half the time. They are not actually looking into the value of
Well, it depends, because at the end of the day, they will need to create a consortium. Now, the consortia are quite open. You may have,
you can take an international partner. That is more easy. You develop something. Technology more easier.
yeah, but you may have a university, a French university creating a consortium with a British or a Chinese or whatever university, in order to deal with a global challenge, or Indian university.
And then if you take an international partner in your consortium, then it's certainly not mandatory to be totally good English. Otherwise, that's probably what they want. We work with third countries, but strategically, and remember the strategy.
This is part of the work, part of the learning process. Then the roadmap is talking about before. We have here we have identified communication with researchers, identified with the communications with identified the countries or regions, enlargement in neighborhood countries, and that's a region. Of course, there is support, the main objective is support enlargement and neighborhood policies. We are revising, by the way, the neighborhood policy. Industrialized countries, meaning our cooperation with the Americans or the Canadians, etc., so to discuss competitiveness, research on global challenges, to see also business opportunities. And with the developing countries, you have these kind of objectives. But what I would like also to say, I would like to say something. You may wish to cooperate with the non-European research institutions. European universities, Indian universities, European universities, Chinese universities, European universities, American universities. Or you may wish to cooperate among yourselves in Europe, in the European Union, in order to discuss an item or to make a research on a subject which may be relevant as regards our relations with China, which could be relevant in our relations with the developing countries, which could be relevant in our relations with the Americans. TTIP is an example, is a great investment agreement. So, European universities may work with non-European entities, but the European universities may also work with other European universities to deal with matters which refer to global issues, which refer to global situations, or which refer to European relations with the rest of the world. This is something that you may wish to consider. And this is a strategic decision that you needed to take when you create your consortium and when you define the subject of your research. You may be, just to make an example, a French university, a Belgian university, and Italian university that put together in order to discuss European relations with China. Why not? It's possible. Fantastic. The European migration in the Mediterranean. So you may have a Greek university, Cyprus university, Polish university discussing, presenting a research program on migration in the Mediterranean. Okay, fantastic. You may also have French university, Italian university, and Estonian university putting together, together with Turkish university or Azerbaijani university or whatever, in order to discuss the situation of energy, I don't know, in the Balkans. So you may have different configurations. This depends on how you intend to organize yourself. The instruments, voilà, I've already spoken about. We need to create a synergy among these. There is a coordination. And that's it.
Well, thank you very much for quite a substantial amount of information and very useful one.
Now, my problem is that now I need to leave because I have another meeting, but we come back. So if you have questions, we will have some time to speak about this. I really need to leave because I have another meeting at 11 o'clock. So,
Thank you very much for the presentation, and we're looking forward as well to your research.
yeah, I have
I'm sure there will be useful. Now, as you have noticed, we started with a general introduction of the context within where the horizon is placed, and we are going to gradually throughout the day, and especially before the first break, because I don't know about you, but I'm sure that I could use some coffee in next. We'll wrap up and summarize some of the key points for this first session.
Horizon 2020 in 5 minutes. Thanks. Put up your hand if you're not familiar at all with Horizon 2020. Just for me to have some idea of how many of you are starting from knowing nothing about it. So there's 1, 2, 3, sort of 50. Okay, right, so I do need to say something. Because I have actually cut out 1 or 2 slides. They're not cut out from the version that you have been given. So although you may not see them in the presentation now, they are in the version that has been passed out. So I want to start with this slide, which summarizes, you've already heard the 3 pillars of Horizon 2020 being mentioned by Andrea, was it?
Andrea?
Yes. So here we have the 3 main pillars. Look at the 3 vertical pillars. On the left, excellent science. In the middle, industrial leadership. On the right-hand side, societal challenges. And what I want to focus on here, because that's already been mentioned, I just want to focus on the arrows. You'll see there are 3 arrows. 1 arrow goes up and 2 arrows go down. Now the purpose of the arrows is to identify who has the idea. So on the left-hand side, excellent science, the ideas come from you and your scientists. So you can have any idea on any subject, any topic you like. And if the evaluators like your idea, they will give you the medal. So it's blue skies. You can choose anything you want to do. Now the other 2, the arrows go down. So industrial leadership and societal challenges, it is the commission that tells you the topics that they want proposals for. So you've already heard when Tania Friederichcs was talking about the work programs. The work programs are now 2-year work programs the next 2 years, 2016 and 2017, those will be formally published later this year in October. Draft versions of them are already circulating in some areas. Now, those work programs tell you the topics that the Commission wants you to write proposals for. So that's why I say it's top down. They tell you what the topic areas need to be for your proposals. So if your proposal is an idea that's over there, and the Commission says, we want proposals over here, your idea will be rejected. If it's one of those two pillars where the arrows go down. So it's very important for your scientists and you to be ready with project ideas for topics for the industrial leadership and societal challenges. You've got to be ready to go as soon as the work programs are published. So once they're published, you can't afford to start thinking, oh, can I think of an idea? Well, I suppose you could if it's 2017, but if it's 2016, you've got to be able to hit the floor running with your ideas. So, I'll move on now to say something about aspects of each of those three pillars. Here is part of the European Research Council funding. You've already heard when Tania Friederichcs was talking about the European Research Council. Serbia has actually done remarkably well. Well, anything that's greater than 0 is remarkably well. For FP7, Serbia got no ERC funded projects. And it already has one in Horizon 2020, and it may have a second. Fingers crossed. These come in different sizes, different scales, different levels of experience, different scale of the funding. So I've listed them on this slide here. Starting grants are where most of the money goes. These are for excellent scientists. This is when I'm giving talks to scientists in Serbia, I say, okay, it's money for all of Serbia's Nobel Prize winners in the future. So these really are excellent science. Note at the bottom it says low success rate in FP7. I just looked at the average success rates for Horizon 2020 ERC grants so far, and for starting grants it's around about 9 to 10% success rate. So 1 in 10, 1 in 11 scientists were successful. For the consolidated grants, the success rate was lower, only 8 to 9% success rate. So these really are extremely competitive, and only your best quality scientists are going to win the money. So, moving on now to another aspect of this, future and emerging technologies. This is, if you like, funding for blue skies research. It's funding for high risk, non-conventional, but potentially life-changing and long-term research. There are 3 funding areas for this. FET Open, these are essentially, these differ in scale. So FET Open, these are relatively small scale projects looking at new ideas for research areas that will develop in the future. Then we have FET Proactive, which is looking at a slightly larger scale. It's looking to establish particularly critical mass in a new subject area for European scientists. And then at the bottom, I think you can forget about this because it's already been decided. These are the large-scale flagship projects. And if you just look at the budget, it will give you some idea that it's probably not where you start writing project proposals. Budget, approximately €1 billion for each of these projects. So they're talking about 10-year initiatives, and the 2 that they have in mind are human brain research and developing graphene as a new material for the years to come. So That is what is in future and emerging technologies. The only other aspect of the excellent science pillar that I'm going to refer to is one that is going to be relevant for a lot of you and a lot of your scientists. And this is it's now called Mary Skłodowska-Curie. That's her full Polish name. And these are divided into 4 areas. The 3 that are most likely to be relevant for you are the ITN, the Innovative Training Networks, IF, Individual Fellowships, and RISE, which are the Research and Innovation Start Exchange Schemes. Co-fund is a combination of EC, Commission funding, and national funding for various typically regionally focused ideas. So in terms of initial training networks, these are opportunities to finance PhD students doing research. So as it says, not initial, it's innovative, they've changed it. It was initial for FP7. It's now innovative training network. So it's an opportunity for a number of institutions around Europe to provide training for young researchers. And these are typically PhD students for a number of months to several years. Then we have the individual fellowship, which is human capacity building for an individual going from his or her own institution somewhere else, or coming from somewhere else to your own institution. So these fellowships are going either direction, either within Europe, from one country to another, or from outside Europe, one country coming into Europe also. So this is where there are many opportunities for individual good quality scientists, but they do need to be good quality scientists because competition is very strong. RISE, this is a particularly useful one because it builds links between industry and academia. So this is an opportunity for individuals from a company to spend time working in academia, to see what it's like doing research, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities available if you are a researcher, but also it requires somebody from a research environment to go to spend time working in industry so that they understand what it means to work in a profit-oriented environment. Because very often researchers are accused of living in ivory towers. They may be very good at research and getting results to publish in scientific papers, but they're not very good at exploiting the research to benefit society. So the RISE, the RISE scheme, are opportunities for this to be addressed. Now I'm going to show you one slide on industrial leadership. Essentially, industrial leadership and the third pillar, societal challenges, these are similar types of project. The difference is mainly is the end user target. Industrial leadership, this is targeting industry and developing technologies to take to the marketplace. This is specifically targeting the opportunities for ICT, and you may be able to see I've put in red text the equivalent theme from FP7. So you'll see ICT from FP7 is also within this pillar here on industrial leadership. So this is investment in key technologies. So these are the technical sciences. Funding opportunities for technical sciences. Then we have nanotechnologies, photonics, nanoelectronics, advanced materials, advanced manufacturing and processing. These are all in FP7. Then we also have aspects of biotechnology, which used to be in what was blah blah blah, Brussels. And then we have space up there. So those are opportunities for funding in those areas. Then you've already heard Andrea has already described to you, well, he talked of only 7, I think, sorry, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, he was referring to an earlier version of the societal challenges when there were only 6. Societies have now been divided into 2. So he's already been through those. The points that I want to make are, looking on the right-hand side, you may be able to see the text in red. Again, this shows you that this area is following on from FP7. So if you were familiar with the way that FP7 worked and the types of projects that were being funded in FP7, this is where a lot of them are going to be funded now in Horizon 2020. So if you're familiar with writing project proposals in FP7, you will probably find this is more familiar to you in Horizon 2020. The reason that it's called Societal Challenges is that it's providing solutions to problems. So if you read the work program text for each of those 7 areas of science, you will find that they are focusing on societal problems. And you heard Andrea talking about some of those problems in terms of increasing energy efficiency, in terms of environmental pollution, climate change. How do we tackle climate change? This is all providing research to help provide answers to the problems that are being identified. And it goes through all those areas of science: health, food security, energy, climate action. And then we've got not only security, which is what Andrea was talking about, but also we have aspects of Europe in a changing world, better societies. We're all getting older. We have demographic changes. We have immigration. We have refugees to look after. So all of these are new challenges and new problems that Europe is having to face. And the topics that will be available for this are to provide answers to those problems. So that is summarizing the 3 pillars. I'm going to mention opportunities for SMEs because we have one SME at the back there. Hello, nice to see you. If it was Bosko in charge of this course, then it would all be focused on SMEs because Bosko spends a lot of time working with SMEs to help them to get projects funded. SME participation is mandatory, it's obligatory. The target for FP7 was 15%. It's now gone up to at least 20%. So at least one in 5 of your partners in your consortium have got to be SMEs. There is also, as you probably know, an SME instrument and opportunities for SMEs. It's going to be providing support for research-intensive SMEs. It's going to be enhancing the innovation capacity of SMEs. And it's also going to be supporting market-driven SMEs to make sure that the ideas, the research results, the demonstration and the prototypes will actually get to the marketplace. So there is a specific funding scheme for SMEs called the SME Instrument. And if you look through the work programs, you will find in every one of those aspects of the themes and subject areas that I was talking about, there will be every so often a topic which is specifically for SMEs. They will say this is an SME instrument as the funding for that particular topic. And it comes in 3 phases. The first phase, you have a 10% chance of success. And then if you succeed, you get 50,000 euros to develop a business plan and submit it for further round of funding. And if you succeed with that, then you get access to investment funding to commercialize your idea. Because of time, I'm going to stop at that. And I'm going to finish off with this slide, which just summarizes the 4 types of funding action. We have research and innovation actions, which are where you will find the majority of the societal challenges, and a lot of the industrial leadership topics will come under this scheme. 100% funding, so all of your costs are covered. Then we have innovation actions, which are near market, because we expect for these topics, the innovation actions, there to be much greater industrial commitment in partnerships, consortia for these types of projects. The funding for those is only 70%. They are expecting the remaining 30% to be investment by the industrial partners in those projects. Then we have coordination and support actions. Those are what the name says. It's not large amounts of money, but it's providing opportunities for developing networks, for coordinating different research groups working on related topics around Europe. Support actions provide opportunities to bring people together for conferences, to exchange information, to develop training of various sorts. That's the third type of action, and the final one I've already mentioned is the SME instrument. And great. So, I'm sorry that I didn't say an awful lot about the Horizon 2020 program, but the majority of you will be familiar with it. We should be covering aspects of Horizon 2020 for the rest of these 2 days. So I'm sure those of you who were not familiar previously, by the end of the 2 days, you will know a lot more about the way Horizon 2020 works. So, thank you very much.